hair down. I should have thought of that beforehand, because now the show is started. Hello, and welcome to A Year at the Movies, a slipshod production of Early Bird Industries where I try and watch a movie every day of the year, and then at the end of the week, I come and tell you about it. Now, I started this project in January, of course, not now, probably in February is when it's probably going to go up, because that's when the year started, but I did not have the ability to make a video until just now, which bodes well for my ability to make a video every week. We have until this fairly ancient DSLR simply stops recording, and that's when the video is going to end, and then I'm going to put it on my YouTube channel, because it's just fun to put YouTube videos up, and I kind of miss it, and I want to talk extemporaneously, and we got to get started. Okay. The first movie that I watched this year was Willy Wonka. No, wait, that's not right. That's not what it's called. It's called Wonka. Where are you? Wonka. Oh boy, I'm wasting so much time. Wonka. That was not a good movie. I guess I didn't have to look up the note just to tell you that. I also gotta make sure I don't look at myself in the monitor. We are getting back into the swing of it. Yeah. Wonka. A prequel nobody asked for, centering a guy who looks like an orphan, but who cannot sing despite it being a musical. The highlights were when Timothée Chalamet was not singing, and when other people who were better actors were. For example, the Three Chocolatiers have a very interesting, bullying, somebody's walking by playing How Deep Is Your Love out of a speaker so loud. As you can tell, this is not a studio environment here. The highlights of Wonka were when Timothée Chalamet were not singing, because he can't. Let's see. Sans Soleil, that was the next one I watched, which means Without the Sun. Kind of just a bunch of images of stuff. I'm sure if I read an article about it, I would be able to engage with it a little bit deeper, but as it stood, it just seemed like, how do you say this? I don't know, a hagiographic celebration of someone I've never met, told by someone about them. I wasn't sure what was going on at any time. Really, it's something you need to read good television going and also we're at a new sort of version of the world's wobbliest desk here. Anyway, heads up, there's real footage of a giraffe being shot. If you go watch Sans Soleil, it looks like a library clip, but they just use that sort of shock and horror to illustrate a point. Let's see, News from Home, which is a Ackerman, I believe. That is well worth your time. Go see News from Home. News from Home was so good. It's basically just calm, static shots of New York, where nothing's happening a lot of the time, with text from Chantal Ackerman's mom, like letters that her mom would send her. It was, as my review on Letterboxd was, a little bit too close to home, which is a little funny, but anybody who has kind of a, how do I say this nice, a mom who cares a lot and who has then moved away from her, I think could get a lot out of it. Could really, it makes you want to call your mom, basically. Hold on, I need to put on a work focus. Okay, so that people stop texting me, because I'm so busy. It's not a text, it's a notification. I don't have any people texting me. Let's see. Her mom is dire. Everything her mom says is dire. Then I rewatched Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. That's why I was on the wrong page earlier. That's pretty fun, although it's longer than you remember, and it takes a different approach to the objective reality of musicals. Like, it doesn't feel like a musical to me because it feels like a movie with musical numbers in it, as opposed to a movie where there are chunks of plot that drive you to the different musical numbers, and that's where the actual movie is happening, which is what Wonka felt like. Yeah, I like the original Willy Wonka movie. It's good. These kids suck. Have none of them read a fairy tale? Yes. I watched the making of documentary for the movie The Creator because I bought it on Blu-ray, and that is very worth seeing. There was a lot of talk when The Creator came out about the production of it, about how they used, inexpensive cameras and shot. It's funny. Somebody closed a car door really hard. Right as I said shot. We're finding our feet. We're getting into the swing of it. We're finding our feet. We're learning maybe we should close the window before we start filming. Anyway, making of The Creator, because when The Creator came out, there was a lot of talk about the behind-the-scenes aspects of it, where it was shot on inexpensive materials and things like that, and on set and whatever. But the behind-the-scenes documentary, if you do a close reading of it, sort of expands on that. It makes it very interesting, because it seems like they just shot a movie without a script almost, and put all of the movie-making onus on the visual effects team, who did a really good job, but they did not talk to one editor. Like, it was a movie that was made clearly in the edit because they gave the director, as much as I like that movie, I believe that they gave the editor or the director way too much leeway and put too much pressure on the editing team. Next movie I watched was Passages. Yes, another really interesting one. I liked Passages. It was it's a love triangle movie, but it's not it's not like your typical love triangle movie. But it's basically just a gender swapped love triangle movie, but really a lot happens in it that is hard to describe off the top of my head, especially because it's been a little bit. So let's just go through some highlights here. Cheating on his husband via bike. How could you cheat on Ben Whishaw? Ben Wishaw's in it. And then immediately he tells his husband about the affair that he's having. I'm like, damn, this is a pretty French movie. But then his husband's like not into it because his husband's Ben Whishaw and Ben Wishaw's English. It like with a lot of movies where like the central animus of it is that it's a love triangle, I spend the whole time thinking, well, why not just do a triad, why not just polyamory it up, and I think that Passages answers that question very clearly, and it is because the main guy, who is a director named Tomas, he sucks. He's just awful. He's a bad dude. No one could be in a happy relationship with him. Then they try and make it work, but it doesn't work, and it is Tomas's fault, which is crazy because you think it would be the stuck-up English guy. After that, I rewatched Treasure Planet more forever. I've seen Treasure Planet before. I don't have to take a lot of notes on it. I rewatched John Wick 4. I'm skipping over rewatches because I've seen them before and I probably don't have a huge amount to say about them. Let's see. Donnie Yen's commitment to the samurai thing. One thing I really like about samurai movies, like Yojimbo or whatever, is the samurai rolls into town, everybody knows he's the toughest guy, and so they all spend all this time going around him, and he spends most of his time sitting down and eating something and drinking. And then, like, when the big, like that joke about they only wake me for the big meetings or whatever, and then when the big meetings come up, he wastes a bunch of guys, and Donnie Yen, I think, really exemplifies that. Oh my god, we are so ahead of schedule. We are up to the most recent 2 movies that I saw, both yesterday. Let's see. I didn't take any notes on... because I don't take notes on rewatches, and I rewatched a bunch of movies. I'm also kind of behind. I'm always behind. That's the thing about me. I had a very busy January, and my true passion of watching 2 movies a day it fell by the wayside. So I'm gonna try and work on that a little more. So we're coming to the 2 most recent movies that I watched. First is Rotting in the Sun, which is on Mubi. It's got a very Christmas movie vibe. It's kind of like, how do I'm gonna sneeze. Oh, good. Perfect. Sneezing on camera. We're really starting in a good place for this season. It was kind of like a mix between a Safdie Brothers film and a Brian Jordan Alvarez piece. Kind of like if Brian Jordan Alvarez was more drug motivated. And it had a lot of nudity in it, which was good. I liked that. But the plot of it was very, I don't know, goofy and wishy-washy and I don't know, camp almost. But it didn't resolve in a really strong way that I wanted it to. But it's okay. It doesn't have to. Let's see. Perspective shifts, editing jokes, stuff like that. Almost a Clue vibe at a certain point where, like, you get into the mystery of it and it seems like there's just people going back and forth. Would I recommend it? I don't know. If you have Mubi, yeah. But I wouldn't recommend you, like, rent it or something. I thought it was basically medium overall, but I liked it. So yeah, I'd recommend it. Let's see. It might have been because I did sort of a strange thing, is that I watched almost all of Rotting in the Sun, and then like 20 minutes before the end of it, I went and watched Poor Things, which is the thing that I just saw yesterday at the movie theater here. Most of these have been like movies that I saw on streaming or whatever. But Poor Things I went and watched in the theater. The Greek made a fun one. I cannot believe it. Yorgos Lanthimos usually makes movies that are very beautiful and very well shot and well acted and whatever, but just the tone and the feeling of it is very, what's the word? Rick and Morty, where like at the end of it you're like, I just feel so bad for having watched this. Like, this is like a form of self-harm to have seen The Lobster, essentially. It's not even cathartic, it's just like punishing. That's how I feel about a lot of Yorgos Lanthimos' movies. But Poor Things Poor Things is a straight up fun banger. It's not just that it's half sex, which was a kind of a strange double bill with Rotting in the Sun, which is very nudity heavy, but not super sex heavy, if anything. Poor Things is very focused on Emma Stone having sex and looking at her. But how do I describe this well without giving anything away? It's a Frankenstein story, but much like the original Frankenstein book, the monster is, smart and can do stuff and is in control of their own destiny. And it's... yeah, the whole idea of it, for me, watching it, was that... and I don't have as much perspective on it as I do with these other ones because I just watched it yesterday, but it's very, incredibly specific and constantly reinforced focus on texture and sensation and feeling and this sort of overwhelming experience of living in a body, which is something I can relate to very strongly. Which the Greek's other movies also feature. It's just that he often takes this kind of theme and twists it into something, sinister or shameful or disgusting, whereas Poor Things, at least in my viewing of it, felt very celebratory. Isn't it cool to be a person who's alive? Which is not something I was expecting from old Lanthimos, because he seems very cynical. But that's what this movie is. It's like a celebration of how cool it is to be alive and how intense every aspect of the world is, because it's a movie. And if possible, go and listen to the Letterboxd podcast where they talk to the set designers, because it's a very set designer focused movie. I went with my friend Sasha, and they're a clothing person and loves historical costuming and details and knows all the references and whatever that the set designers were putting down. And the whole time they were like, oh my god, look at the embroidery on that. And I'm like, yeah. Because the impression that I got from it was, God, there are so many textures in this movie. And the way that it's shot feels very strange and not alienating exactly, but kind of like Brother from Another Planet, where it's alienating, but the feeling of alienation brings you closer to the reality of the world, while at the same time distancing you from the kind of closed off. You know how you have to sort of close off 90% of your senses so that you don't go insane, and if you were true, what's that it's like a Twitter joke from a French professor. I'll try and find it and put it in the description. But if you had to experience things purely, you'd go crazy, And I think that, at least for me, a lot of my life, I have to ignore stuff or close things down or let things... I can't collect everything in my mind all at once. And for most of this movie, Poor Things, it feels like it's from the perspective of someone who hasn't learned how to do that. And so it's just the world feels crazy and overwhelming and intense, and yeah, I don't know. I had a lot of fun looking at all the textures. A cool 20 minutes. We're looking good. This long, rambly one-shot thing. I'm coming in under the record limit. I could probably talk about some more movies that I didn't cover in the preview series. Oh, if you're interested, there is 4 more of these, basically, that I was calling the, like, preview series or the pilot season of this show. A Year at the Movies sounds good, right? I don't know. I'm still working on the name. Yeah, there was a whole whole preview season, whole pilot season that is up on my Patreon. It's $1. There's a whole bunch of other stuff too. You can download all the music I've made. Anyway, yeah, that's the end. It's so dumb.